Good morning, guys. So, you have two options for today's lesson because essentially this is just consolidating everything that you have already learned about the averages. So, I am going to give you two different ways of doing this. Otherwise, you can go get the sheet, finish it off, and then watch the video to see if it matches up with what you have. Or alternatively, you can pause the video and go through it with me. So pause, complete a question, unpause, check. Okay, pause, complete another question, unpause, check. Hopefully that makes sense. So do it whichever way you want, but just make sure that you are doing the questions first. That's all you need to ensure that you're doing. Okay, so moving on. Hopefully you guys have paused and you've already finished question number 1 before we start it. Okay, so you got number 1, a class has a spelling test every week. Here are the results for the 4 students over a 6-week period. Okay, so you've got the different students. I have Teddy, I have Esther, I have Rosie, and I have Scott. Okay, so how much did they each get? So just by looking at them, I can already do some of them mentally. That gives me 7. So this is me finding out the mean because that's what they're asking for, the mean. Esther, 20 plus 21, 41, I think, but let me check. Because, yay. Okay, so that is 41 over 6, which is decimals. 6.83 reoccurring. And then we have Teddy. You got 6 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 4 plus 8, which is 43 over 6, which is 7.16 reoccurring. Okay, obviously I've put it this way, but if they did ask you to round up and you did round up, just make sure you are rounding up correctly. Some of you have forgotten that you do sometimes need to round and you're rounding incorrectly. So instead of putting like 7.2, some of you have been doing stuff like 7.1. 7.1 would not be correct. There is one good reason as to why you show working, because if you show working, then someone looking at your work can see that you actually do know what you're doing. It's just you're rounding. Okay, so it wouldn't be the method for the averages that would be an issue, is you're rounding, and then you're able to pinpoint what you need to improve. Okay, anyway, so these are the mean scores. Then it says work out the range. So the range would just be the highest value and then subtract the lowest value away from it. So it's just a difference between the two values. So the highest value for Teddy is a 9, the lowest value is a 4, so that's a range of 5. For Esther, the highest value is a 9, the lowest value is a 2, which leaves me with 7. For Rosie, she just got the same every single time, so it's 7 take away 7, which is 0. And then for Scott, it is 8 take away 6, which is 2. Okay, and then they ask you a bunch of questions. Just make sure your reasoning is there. Okay, so which student had the greatest mean? Well, greatest mean is that one. Literally say what it is. There's your mean. There's the biggest mean. Easy. Okay, which student was the most consistent? I've already spoken about how the lowest range would be the most consistent. That is a student that I could rely on the most. So I know that one of these students is going to get a 7 in her next test. How do I know it? Because she's always getting a 7. Okay, so that's how I know Rosie is quite consistent. Scott is not too far behind, because if I wanted to say, I know he's going to get between 6 and 8. Okay, so he might get 6, he might get 7, he might get 8. So that's the way Scott is. Okay, some people might say, oh, there's a pattern in the scores, he's definitely going to get an 8. Okay, we're not going to say there's a sequencing in his pattern because it's only 6 numbers. I'm not going to make a sequence from that. You could potentially see that there's some sort of sequence, but I would just say his range is between 8 and 6. So he might get an 8, might get a 7, might get a 6. Okay, so there's that one. And then it says, who do you think revised for the test? Okay, so if I was revising for a test, I would expect to get the same kind of answer each and every time. On the days I don't revise, it's just potluck as to whether it's something that I enjoy or whether it's something I don't enjoy. Okay, so if I'm revising, I'm expecting to get a consistent mark across the board. So if you are talking about the ones revising, I would probably say Rosie or Scott because they're always getting very consistent answers. Okay, if it hadn't have been for Teddy, so we have done outliers, if it hadn't been for Teddy getting that 1-4, some people would have said he was quite consistent. So if it is a matter of talking about outliers, so this is the reason why reasoning is very important. So if it had been a matter of talking about outliers, you might have actually highlighted that the 4 was a was an outlier for Teddy, and he's been revising. Maybe he was ill on that day. Okay, so there's always a way of explaining each of these answers. So you could have actually theoretically gone for any of them as long as you had the right explanation. Make sense? Okay, so for question number 2. Okay, so it says, Tommy comes to school eitherwise by bus or by car. He compares his travel time in minutes by bus and by car. So it says, on average, which method of transport is faster? So if I'm faster, I'm going to be taking less time. So has he taken less time in the bus or has he taken less time in the car? Less time in the car, okay? So the car would be faster on average. Okay, and then it says, which method of transport has the least consistent journey times? Okay, so which one is going to vary the most? So which one am I expecting could go up or down by a bigger amount, sorry. And I would say it's the car. The range is 18. That's a huge range, okay? So the car is least consistent as the range is larger. If they had asked for a reason, then just start thinking about your logic. Why would a car be least consistent? Well, traffic, okay? It depends on your route. It depends on how much traffic there is, okay? In terms of a bus, sometimes there are special bus routes in quite a lot of cities in the world. They do have bus routes. So bus routes, trains, those kind of things can sometimes be quite consistent because they're always following the same path, and sometimes they have a special path that's designated for them. Okay, so the car would be the least consistent. Okay, so number 3, Philip and Brett are running a race. Who has the fastest practice run time? Okay, so we are going to have to add up the numbers. Okay, so for Philip and for Brett, I know there are 9 numbers overall. So for Philip, it's 27 plus 25 plus 26 plus 25 plus 29 plus 26 plus 25. 27 plus 25. So that's 2, 3, 5 for Philip, and then I'm dividing by 9, which is 26.1 reoccurring. Okay, and then for Brett is 25 plus 24 plus 31 plus 32 plus 29 plus 29, 27 plus 30 plus 30. Okay, 257 divided by 9 equals 28.5 reoccurring. Okay, so it's a 200-meter sprint. Okay, so when it says who has the fastest run time, am I expecting the person that takes longer or am I expecting the person that takes less time? Okay, so I'm expecting the person that takes less time. So the person who's faster is Philip. Okay, next it says work out the median practice run time for each student. Okay, so obviously if I had the piece of paper, I would just be writing on the piece of paper, but because I don't, I'm just going to be writing it here. Okay, so Philip. Let's look at Philip's times. He has 25, 25, 25, 25. He then has 26, 26, 27, 27, and then a 29. Okay, some of you might have just gone straight to 26 because you said it was the fifth number and that was the middle. To be perfectly honest, that would be perfectly fine. Just make sure that when you're doing your ordered row that you are definitely sure that you haven't missed a number, because I have seen some people just draw half the list but they missed out a couple of numbers at the beginning, and because they missed out a couple of numbers their median was actually skewed. Okay, so for Brett, we got 24, got 25, got 27, 29, 29, 30, 30, 31, 32. Okay, so the middle for that one is the 29. Okay, so work out the median practice run. Okay, it doesn't ask for which one's better, you're just working them out. Work out the range. Okay, so I'm just going to do the range in this because it's so much easier. So you got 29 at 25. So I'm doing 29, take away 25 is 4. For this one, it's 32, take away 24, which is 8. Okay, so the range for Philip is 4. The range for Brett is 8. Okay, who has the best median running time? So as we were saying, it's the lesser time, so that's going to be Philip. And who is the most consistent? So the most consistent would be the lower range, and the lower range belongs to Philip. Okay. Okay, so next question. It says a boys rugby team plays 7 games. Okay, here is the number of points they score in each game. Find the median, find the range, and then it also talks about a girls rugby team. Okay, so median and range. So the first thing I need to do is pop those numbers into order. So I've got 12, got 14, I've got 16, 22, okay, 27, 31, 45. How many games is that? 7. Sorry guys, I'm a little tired, so I need to make sure I'm double checking. So when I'm doing this, I am double checking. I don't know whether some of you do that or not, but I like to double check. Okay, so the median is the middle value. There is 7, so the middle one is going to be 22. So the median is just 22. When we talk about the range, I'm taking the biggest and the smallest, so that would be 45, take away 12, which is 33. Okay, and it says the girls rugby team also plays 7 games. So for the girls, the median is 28 and the range is 44. So it says choose the median and range and compare the performance of the boys rugby team and the girls rugby team. Okay, so 28, and this is the girls and this is the boys. This is about the median, right? Okay, so girls have a higher median score. I know it seems easy, but some people find that hard to write down. I know, because it is easy, right? Okay, and then for the range, there I already know that the girls they've told me is 44 and the boys is 33 because we worked it out. So so the girls have a higher range. This would actually be the minimum. Some people like to go beyond that to show that they understand the meaning of the range. So they might say the girls have a higher range, therefore are less consistent. Okay? It just means, would I expect a higher score each and every time from the girls? No, because their score is actually less consistent than the boys. So yes, the season may show that the girls had a higher mean, significantly higher mean. Their range is also much bigger, so I wouldn't expect the same kind of results. So even after a couple of games, you might notice that the median goes down quite a bit because their range is quite high. Okay, so So for number 5, for an English assignment, Nisha, I'm so sorry if I'm saying this wrong and one of you knows how to say it, obviously correct me, let me know, is comparing the number of words in 30 sentences of 2 different authors. Work out the range of the number of words per sentence and make 2 comparisons about the number of words per sentence. Okay, what did they give us? Number of words in a shorter sentence, number of words in a longer sentence, median number of words per sentence. Okay, so range for A. So I'm going to do longer, take away shorter, which is 15, take away 6, which is 9. And then for B, I'm going to do longer, take away shorter, which is 13. Okay, that's the range. Then it says make 2 comparisons about the number of words per sentence written by the authors. When they say 2 comparisons, they don't want 2 sentences which say exactly the same thing, but you're saying it in different ways. I have seen some people that will talk about the median twice. When they say making 2 comparisons, that means 2 different comparisons. So in this case, talk about the median, talk about the range. What have they given you? They've given you the median, they've given you the range. So talk about both of them. Okay, so for number 1, I would probably say, so you've seen the range here. You've literally just worked out the range. So just say the range for B, for author B, is larger than the range for author A. I know it sounds simple, because it is. Okay, and then for the next one, I would just say that the median for author A is larger than the median for author... Sorry. Did I just mix up my sentence? I'm so sorry. The median for author B, which is 14, is larger than the median for author A, which is 10. Okay, apologies, I'm kind of running through thoughts in my mind at a faster pace than I should be. I just need to slow down. Anywho, so going to 6, which is this one. Okay, so a table shows the scores of a group of students in English and science tests. Complete the table. Use the average and the range to make 2 comparisons. Okay, so you got the mean, the median, and the range. Okay, so for English, I'm going to do the median and the range first because it's easier. So let's pop it into order. Okay, I'm going to pause at this point and I'm going to order the English and the science because I'm just going to have to write it down. And I'm sure as much as you guys like hearing my internal thoughts while I'm writing down a list, I'm sure you would just prefer the right order. Okay, so I have written down both of those. So what's the first thing I'm going to look at? I am going to look at the range because I can. So range would be that 78, take away the 36. And because I'm too tired to do it right now, I am just going to use my trusty calculator. Okay, and down here the range is 74, take away 24, which is just 50. Yay, my brain still works. Okay, so for the median, it is the middle value, but obviously you have 10 values, so I'll be looking for the value that's halfway in between those two, as both of them are 47, so obviously I've already told you guys, you add the 2, divide it. This one, it's pretty obvious, it's 47. I just wrote this down just in case anyone likes doing that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 63 plus 66 divided by 2, which is 64.5. Okay, so the red is the median, this is your range, and now we just need to work out the mean. In order to work out the mean, I am going to add up the numbers. 47 plus 47 plus 51 plus 52 plus 72 plus 78. Okay, so for the top one, it's 501. There are 10 values, so that would be 50.1. For the bottom one, 24 plus 58 plus 59 plus 63 plus 66 plus 67 plus 68 plus 68 plus 74, which is 547. I'm going to divide it by 10, which is 54.7. Okay, so I've worked all those out. Then it says use the average and the range to make two comparisons between, use an average, and the range to make two comparisons between the English and the science marks. So they're saying an average and the range, because you've worked out two different averages. You've worked out the median and you've worked out the mean. So one of them needs to otherwise be about these, and one of them needs to be about the range. So just do, nice easy one, range. Okay, range is higher for the science marks than it is for the English marks. Nice and easy. Okay, and then if you wanted to talk about the median, you would say the median of the science marks is higher, or you would say the mean for the science is higher. Okay, that's all you need. Nice and easy. Okay, then for number 7, it says at a charity 10,000 meters race, 20 experienced runners finish with a mean time of 48 minutes and a range of 10 minutes. Here are the time in minutes of 10 first-time runners in the race. Make two comparisons between the experienced and the first-time runners. Okay, so when they say it's a mean and a range, and they're asking you to make comparisons, you know you're also going to work out a mean and a range. Okay, so don't go looking at median or mode or anything else. They've literally given you the answer. They've said, we want to work out the mean. We want to work out the range. So just work out what they've given you. Okay, so if they've done a mean, I don't need to worry about adding anything up. Ordering anything, I mean. I'm going to be adding stuff up. Tamina will get it sorted. Oh, and if anyone doesn't know, that's my first name. That is my first name, just in case you're wondering why Miss is talking about herself in third person. Don't ask me. I just do it occasionally. 59, 98, 72, and 61. Okay, so that's 678, and they already said there were 10 of them, so that's 67.8. That is my mean. Okay, when I'm looking at the range, I'm just going to find the highest number. So the highest number in there is 98. I'm going to find the lowest number, which is 57 by the looks of it. Yep, 57. So 98, take away 57 is 41. Okay, so now I can make the comparison to the experienced runners. So they've already told me the mean time for the experienced runners is 48 minutes, and the range for the experienced runners is 10 minutes. Okay, so now you just need to make two comparisons. Make one comparison about the mean, make one comparison about the range. Which range is higher? Is the range higher for inexperienced first-time runners, or is the range higher for experienced runners? Okay, so the range, or alternatively, you could say the range is lower for experienced runners, which is perfectly fine. So otherwise say this is a higher range, or say this is a lower range. I know it sounds logical, but some people get confused. Do not ask me how. Okay, and then you can do the same for a range. Sorry. Why did I call that the range? It's the mean. I'm so sorry. Do the same for the mean up here. So you would say the inexperienced runners have a higher mean, or you would say the experienced runners would have a lower mean time. Okay? And then last but not least, just for that final little thing at the bottom, it says, will your comparisons change if the runner who took 98 minutes is not included in this data? Oh, that's quite a nice one, isn't it? Okay, so if I don't have 98 minutes, what is the next highest number? So the next highest number after this 98 chap is 75. 75 take away 57 would be, that one is still going to be a higher range. But what about this mean? So I'm going to get rid of the 98 from there, which leaves me with 580 divided by 10, which is 58. Okay, so they still have a higher mean and it still has a higher range. Okay, so if they were saying all your comparisons change, you just say, well, the range changes and the mean changes, but the comparisons will not, okay? Because this is still a higher mean, still a higher, a higher mean. This is still a higher range. Okay, so hopefully that made sense and you guys were able to do that quite quickly. I'm going to check to see what we are going to do next lesson. We might have a little bit of a fun one. I don't know. I'll be thinking about it. Okay, but otherwise I will say make sure you stay safe, go get some vitamin D, make sure you are looking after yourselves, and as always, if you have any questions, pop them into the comments. Otherwise, toodles, take care.